Welcome. In the last video, we have already seen how to compile and run a CUDA program. Today, we are going to learn the basics of this CUDA program. Basically, we are trying to see the CUDA C program. So for now, you have already learned that we can run our CUDA program in Colab, Google Colab. So what we do is we write our CUDA C program. And what we do is we include this plugin, means we install it and then we will load it, and then we can use this thing to store this file in our source content, and then we can execute it with our NVCC compiler, right? So these are few things that we have already learned. For now, so today we have to learn something about the program itself. So basically we are talking about CUDA C program. So it is basically extension of our original C programming language. Now in our C program we were able to execute it on host computers, I mean CPUs. Now we want to use GPUs. If we want to use GPUs, we need to write special codes for it also. We don't want to leave those codes in C that we are executing on our CPU, because there should be something called backward compatibility. Yeah, okay. So here we can think about two things. One is host code, and another is device code. Okay. So host code runs on CPU, and device code runs on GPU. No problem. No problem. Now the next thing is, in our CUDA programs, can we execute the normal C code? Yes, we can execute normal C code. Just we have to write our original C code, and we will save the file with the .cu extension, cu, as in the last case we have stored it with hello.cu. So with cu extension, and then what we have to do is we have to execute it. I should say we have to compile it with NVCC compiler. What this NVCC compiler does? NVCC compiler actually works very nicely. It understands that this CUDA program may have host code as well as some device code. So it internally compiles the host code with the host C compiler or linker, and then it also compiles the device code with, let's say, on device JIT compiler. So it is basically, it can compile the CUDA code which has heterogeneous code. Heterogeneous means it has some host code and some device code. No problem, no issues. It can compile the code. Now let us see this code that we have already executed in our last video. Here, what happens? Okay, simple in main program, it is starting. What is new in it? Okay, some of the things are new here. Okay, let's start from here. Int main, no issues. Okay, stereo iodized, yeah, it is old, no issues. Now you are defining some variables. Yeah, variables are there which can be used, no issues. Okay. Other thing is you are also having some another kind of variable. No problem. Pointer variable. Now having some values in this variable. Here comes something new. We call it CUDA malloc. You would have heard about malloc function, which is used to assign the values, I should say, memory on the CPU side, on the host side. Now we can differentiate between host and device, the CPU and GPU. So here also we will use malloc to allocate memory on CPU side, on host side. If we want to allocate memory segment on GPU side, it will be CUDA malloc. Okay. So here we are saying that we are having a pointer variable and we are associating it with allocated memory on GPU. Okay, its size is something like this. We are defining the size, no problem. Here you have void, a double star. Double star is for, I should say, you are expecting generic pointer. Okay, no problem. So you will always keep double star. So what you have done till now is you have created three variables. You have assigned some values in these two variables and you don't have any value in this third variable. You are associating this third variable with the memory on GPU. Okay, these two variables are already on CPU side. You didn't use malloc. You are using it like this one. No problem. For the third one, you have used CUDA malloc to allocate the memory on GPU side. Now you want to execute something. You want to execute this thing, a function. Function name is add. It is somewhere here. If we would have not written underscore underscore global underscore underscore, in that case, it would have not been a kernel function. A kernel function is a function which is to be executed on GPU. So for now, you can understand it is a global kernel function. We will see there are certain options to write here. For now, let us take it for granted like we are using global to show that it is a kernel function which can be accessed from this main memory. Sorry, main function. So we are writing the function name and its arguments. The three arguments, what are the three arguments? A, B, and pointer C. No problem. So here, in between, we are using these symbols and we are writing 1 comma 1, which means we want to create one block of one thread. Okay, this is we say it grid. Okay, so in this grid, how many blocks we want? One. And how many threads per block we want? Okay, one. Just one thread I am using, and we will execute this function because I know that I have just one value to sum. Okay. Now the next thing, I executed it. When we call this function in the GPU side, I should say device, on the device side, one thread was allocated. This function was executed. Three values were passed, A, B, and C. In the C, and the summation of A plus B was stored, but it was on device side, right? Stored on the device memory. Do you want it in the device memory or in the host? If you want to use the value on the host side, you have to bring this value from the device to host. For that, you are writing this function. What is this function? CUDA mem cpy. Okay, you want to copy a memory from one place to another. For this case, we are using CUDA memcpy device to host. In the maybe next example, we will try to see extended version where we will have to copy memory from host to device as well. Okay, so here we are copying this thing, memory from device to host. So device is this. Okay, this is the device memory. From there we are copying in our local memory. Okay, how much? The size is this much size. Okay, so once this function is executed, the values stored in the device memory are copied in our local variable, and this can be used in any way that we want. Here we have used it to print the value. Okay, then we should free the CUDA memory that we have allocated. So it is dev C that we have allocated. For freeing this memory, we are using CUDA free function. Okay, so very simple program it was, and very easy to understand. Okay, next example that we have to see is summation of two vectors, right? This is just one variable, and for summing up one variable, we are using this kind of extra burden of allocating memory on the device side, executing function, and those all the things. It is, if you execute the same function without GPU, just addition of these two numbers. So if you use just CPU, it will be faster than this setting. So we have to be careful while writing programs. What we actually need. If we actually need this GPU, then we are going to use. Then we are going to use maybe for addition of a vector. In case of vector, what happens? We have n number of values. Okay, and what GPU has? GPU has n number of threads. So if you will pass this array to the GPU, it will take just the time it would take to add one variable, isn't it? So let us see what we can do for addition of a vector. This was a simple program for addition of vector. What we have here is we have these header files, no issues. After these header files, we have our global function and our main function. We'll start with this. So what we are doing? We are doing a very simple thing that here we are trying to take input also, no issues. Okay, so this first input is just to see the length of the vector. Okay, so we have taken the length of the vector, and then we are taking some more information. Okay, here we are storing the values. Where are we storing the values? In A and B. Okay, these are HA, HB, HC also. We have to store the result also. We will see. Actually, what happened in earlier case, we had three variables A, B, and C. Now we have three vectors A, B, and C. malloc size. Okay, size we have already calculated here. What is this size? It is a special kind of size T. Okay, size T is a special kind of size type defined in this CUDA C environment, which can be used. So we have defined size like this count. Okay, size of float into the number of elements. No problem. You have to define the this. You have allocated the memory for host A, host B, and host C. No problem. You have taken input in host A and host B. Done. Now we are going to do something. You call it device. Okay, device. We are taking device variables. Sorry, variables on device side. We are creating the variables and we will allocate the memory on device side. Okay. So DA, DB, and DC. Then we are creating, allocating the memory CUDA malloc. So we are allocating some memory on the device side to DA, DB, and DC. Now we want to perform addition of host A and host B, and we want to store the result on host C. So what can be the procedure? We can copy the values of host A and host B into device A and device B. Okay, and then we will call a function which will sum the device A and device B and store the result in device C, and then we will copy the value back from the device to the host. Okay, so let us start. We are taking this copying these values. Okay, we are copying CUDA memcpy host to device. Okay, this is host variable and this is device variable. Host A to device A, host B to device B. Done. After that, we are defining the number of threads we wanted as 256, and if there are more than 256, the size is more than 256. In that case, we will have more number of blocks. So for generalizing it, we have kept it like that. You can also define yourself here the number of blocks you want and the number of threads you want per block. Okay, for example, the size of your array is going to be 100. In that case, you can define as 100. Okay, one block and each block having 100 threads, or you can define as 250, two blocks and each block having 50 threads, or you know that there is a setting of 32 threads kind of thing. In that case, you can also divide it with 32 and accordingly associate that I want to have 4 blocks and one each block with 32 threads. Okay, so no issues. Now in that case, you will call this function add vector. You will pass on the variables A, B, and C, number of elements as well. Why do you want to pass number of elements? You want to pass this number of elements because you have unknowingly decided the number of threads. Okay, Maybe if you are aware that there are number of elements, you can keep the number of elements here, and you can justify there are just this much threads. But still, when this function is being called, vector add, let us go to the function. In this vector add function, you have to decide on which thread what action you want to perform. Okay. So this is the function which is to be executed by all the threads. You have already created several threads. How many threads? Maybe more than 100 or 256 you are saying. So many threads are there, and all the threads are going to execute the same function. Okay. So you have to find out what is the thread index. Okay. How to do that? You will write I is equal to, means thread ID it is. Thread ID is equal to blockdim.x, block idx.x, and thread idx.x. Okay. We will go in detail of this later, but for now you should understand there is something called this block dim variable, block idx variable, thread idx variable, which are predefined variables whose values are automatically assigned by the compiler according to this grid. Okay, and then you can see here we are using the x dimension. Actually, what happens here, we also have y dimension. So the grid, as I have shown here, that you can see the block. I told you that the block can be, you can write 2 block or 3 block. The block can also be 2-dimensional block. Okay, you can write here 3, 5. So in that case, you will have 3 into 5, 15 blocks, right? So we will go in detail, but for now, let us understand. Just keeping x means just single dimension. So one value. So what is the block dim? And this, if at all we were having more number of blocks. Then block idx. Block dim into block idx plus thread idx. Means the ID of the thread in each block. Okay. So in our case, the block dim would be 1. Okay. Which block? Just one block, first block. No problem. Thread IDX. Okay. Definitely, if we are saying that we were having one block and 256 threads, so only thread IDs will vary. So let us assume there are multiple thread IDs. So in this I variable, we will get one value for each thread. For each thread, we will get some value. Now, what we can do is understand that if the size of our array is just 100, in that case, we want to use this ID, this thread ID, if at all it is less than 100. So we want to execute this thing only for those threads whose thread ID is less than or within, whose thread ID is within our range. So if the thread ID is going away from our range, in that case we will not execute it. So just to keep track of its range, we are checking whether this thread ID is within the range or not. If at all it is within the range, we are accessing the values of A and B and performing the summation of that index and storing the result in C. So in this way, what we are doing is we are accessing each index using different threads. Okay, in other words, each thread is accessing different values and its summation results are stored in CI. Now, when this function executes on the device side with different threads, so variable C has been updated. So variable C has updated value. Now this updated value uh, should be brought back to our host side. Okay. So what you can write? You can write CUDA memcpy from device to host. CUDA memcpy device to host. How many bytes? It is size. Okay. So after that, you have values, updated values in host C. Then you can free the device memory, and then you can check whether the values were updated or not, and you can print your result or whatever you want to do. Here what we are trying to see is we are checking whether the values summation of a plus b was equal to summation c or not. We didn't use equal to just to you should see that float values are something like this. Because of float values, some precision may have some problem. So what we are doing is addition of a and p. We are subtracting it, and if at all very negligible difference is there, then it is okay, no issues. So then we are printing test part. So let us see, we get two values. This happened, right? So now the thing is we can execute it. For executing, we have to start it again from here. Every time we will have to install this thing here. So once it is successfully installed, we can load the plugin. We want to execute the second program, this one. So this has been saved in our source content. No, let me repeat it. Oh yeah, now it is here, some CUDA.c, right? Now we have to compile this and we want to store it here as some CUDA. So it is saying the variable ERR was never used. Yeah, it's okay. We can use ERR. In fact, there are, if we, how can we use this ERR? If we want to check it whether this ERR was successful or not. In case sometimes it happens that CUDA memory allocation or CUDA memcpy was not successful. Maybe sometimes the path error or kind of connectivity error may be there. Because of that, it may not be this operation may not be successful. In that case, some error reports are there. Using these error reports, we can go here. If this is not successful, in that case, exit or print something. So what you can write is if ERR is equal to CUDA success. In that case, You can print it, we will see it, don't worry. Then we have compiled it successfully. Error was there, no problem, means warning only, no problem. Now we want to execute it. Let me execute it. So when we will execute it, it will ask me how many values in each array, right? In each vector. So let me execute it. Oh, it is asking me how many variable. Let me say 5. So now it is asking the 5 elements. I am saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the next 5 values, right? Oh no, it was taking 1, 2 together, right? Anyway, so what happened is, although what I think is this was HA1, HB1, right? In this way it would have stored, no problem. But somehow the program was successful. I was showing you last time that you can use a file also. If you have sample txt dot sample input dot txt, I created a file. If you want to store some values there, you can give it here. So how you can do that? You will just have to write these values there, and uh, save it as .txt and use this symbol to give as input. It will work. Okay. So try to execute this function and see whether you are able to do it or not. I can give this as a file, but I don't want to do that because I want you to type every line, even a semicolon yourself. Okay. So code is here. You have already seen all the lines. You type it yourself and try to see what happens. And then we will see next some more important things. What does global mean and what are the other things that we can use here? Then we will also see the memory constructs, or we will see the next thing that we have to see is the two-dimensional grid, which will help us in matrix multiplication or some kind of other operation. The next thing, I believe we will be adding to matrix before multiplication. Okay, let us see, execute these things, and then let us see what you are going to do. Okay, so all the best.